Hi Taurus, it's Romy here. Welcome to my channel. This is your May 2021 soul story. Happy solar returns. If you've got sun rising or your moon is in the sign, hopefully this general reading will give you some insights to help you through the next few weeks. So I'm going to open up the energy of May with the Wheel of Fortune, and I think there is going to be some deep soul searching moments that are going to occur as wild news and change kind of careers through your path. Now, in the midst of what may feel for some of you as quite a chaotic, churned up period of time where, whole trajectories and pathways are getting redirected, there is this sense of you actually feeling quite grounded and quite at peace as you consider what you want to simplify. Now, we're coming into eclipse season, you see, which means, of course, there is a breaking down, a breaking open, and even a breaking up of situations. Things will irrevocably change through the course of this month. And even if you feel like you're not ready for it, at some level you are. But that soul searching, that time for you to really reflect on perhaps what still feels unresolved and come into some sense of acceptance is what's going to drive this need to simplify. Now, beautiful opportunities can come in as a result of this. Wheel of Fortune is connected into the sign of Jupiter, and Jupiter's moving into Pisces mid-month on the 13th. It's co-ruler of this sign, so it brings with it some beautiful gifts, showering of gifts that are coming through. But in order for you to be the recipient of that, there is something that has to change. There's something that has to shift. And I think that you are going to be invited to consider where the split or the change or the movement is kind of forcing something to come up and into the light. And what you then do with that, I think, is really going to set you on an entire new course. It's going to be a really powerful, potent month for you. Mercury and Venus are moving into the sign of Gemini on the 3rd with Mercury and the 8th with Venus. Means that news comes in rapidly. Information overload may be the case, Page of Swords here, of course, but it also helps you to express yourself. It also helps you to make sure that your point is getting understood, and it puts you into dialogue and conversation. The interesting thing is, with the energy of the Wheel of Fortune here, she's kind of turned away, and then you have this person here standing on top of all these stacked books with this dandelion, wishing, hand on the heart here, wishing for something, wanting to connect with you, wanting to reach out, and yet you seem like you don't want to connect. There's something here. So I've got a little bit of distance or something that you feel unsure about right now. Now, this may be a role reversal. You might be finding that you're the one that wants to reach out, and there's someone or something that feels like it's turned away from you. But at the same time, can you see that her heart is actually illuminated here in one of these wheels and the cogs? So there is an acknowledgement, one, that this is an emotional situation, but also actually that you are still in some ways almost putting your heart out there. So there is this kind of acknowledgement of you not shutting down or closing off completely. Yeah. And the Wheel of Fortune is just bringing in unexpected situations and events. So Venus in Gemini, which of course is ruling our relationships and what's happening here, can be kind of fickle. And there is a curiosity here, I think, to try to get to the bottom of something and figure out something. You're going to be considering what you need versus what other people need from you. And I think that new perspective and understanding is going to be quite a game changer in some instances. But the Page of Swords is also really encouraging you, I think, to put some emphasis on how you want to share news about what's changing for you. Now, the Four of Wands brings in a beautiful moment of celebration and something powerful coming in to give you a stronger sense of foundation, okay? For some of you, you might be discussing, negotiating, talking about changes that are happening at a work level or even in your home situation. But what we have is a need and a requirement for you to feel the courage of your conviction and to be fearless in, regardless of how things seem to be coming up out of the blue through the course of this month, still owning the energy and still staying true to who you are, what you want, and what you see for yourself moving forward, and then making sure that you actually communicate that. I think that's going to be the really important thing. Now, I guess when I'm talking about that, it's maybe being really emphasized because we also have Mercury going retrograde in the sign of Gemini, so it's going to have a really prolonged period in that sign when it moves on the 3rd, so it'll be in Gemini right to the 22nd of June. So of course we know that when these retrograde energies happen, there's a need for us to internalize and to review and to come back home to our own energy, but it can also cause that miscommunication and that sort of slightly clouded vision with certain things. And so particularly if you've got some kind of emotional situation going on that is impacting something at a very foundational level for you, or that there is an important agreement, discussion, negotiation that has to take place, try to get that done at the earlier part of the month, Taurus. It feels like that would be advantageous to you. Your Hanged Man coming in here and suggesting that actually there is a requirement for something to almost be left alone. It's kind of interesting. And so even though, like I said, the backdrop of all of this chaos is going to be leading to some new directions coming in, but the breaking down or the breaking open of something, you can see the zip is kind of being pulled back here to reveal a different scene, a different energy, something that wasn't there before. And kind of that's what the Wheel of Fortune has done, isn't it? And so now there's almost this sense of, right, okay, we have to kind of look at this from a different vantage point. And we also perhaps have to allow some time to pass to really understand what it means for us to process something, or to really allow a bit of a spiritual awakening or epiphany to take place. She actually looks quite at peace in this energy right now. So perhaps you might find if there is some kind of situation where you are unable to move forward, or there is a little bit of a stalemate scenario going on, that's actually going to work in your favor in some instances to help you figure something out, to resolve something. And I suppose one of the things that I want to say is that there's an emphasis around the empowering of yourself in this situation, okay? But what we need to be mindful of is that when we expect people to give up their power to meet our expectations or to see things from our perspective, what we're also doing is then opening ourselves up to have to do the same for others, okay? So I want you to keep that in mind in relation to what some situations might be unfolding in your journey through the course of this May, and how that could impact it. Now on the 11th, we've got a beautiful new moon in your sign that's having a really sweet conversation with both Pluto, planet of transformation, and Neptune, helping to unlock that creative vision and just allow the spiritual aspect of what is unfolding for you really help you to see things very differently. Now your Ace of Swords is coming through with crystal clear clarity. So around that new moon, really setting out your store and making a decision about how you want to take something forward, or how you want to respond, or what you want to set your intention and sow the seeds for. It's going to be exceptionally valuable. And actually I want you to pay attention, because the energy with which you are using that new moon is going to be highlighted toward the end of the year as we come into the eclipse cycle of Taurus and Scorpio. And so that's really going to indicate to you what's coming to fruition and what's going to be worked on in that next cycle. And the Ace of Swords suggests, you're holding a key here, but there is a need to listen. You can see how her hair is weaved into this almost shell like representation, but it also has where the key is going to fit here, so you are unlocking something really powerful. There's a beautiful raw potential that you're going to be working on, both within you and in the situation and dynamic that's unplaying for you at the moment. But you look, I don't know, I kind of almost feel like there's a little bit of uncertainty. It's almost like, what do I do with this? What do I do with this truth and this clarity that's now come to me? Maybe I feel a little bit upheaval by it, and eclipse season for sure can bring that in, and of course you're in your solar returns, and so you're wanting to step out with that fresh new vision anyway. And so it may be that if it's connected to this emotional situation that's going on, or just this realization that's dawned on you really powerfully, you are now having this need, like I said, for the soul searching to come in. And that might cause a little bit of a split. It might cause a split in your energy. It might cause a split in a situation or a dynamic. So just be prepared for that. But as we move into the second part of the month, and that sun comes into Gemini, we then start to welcome in the retrograde energies, Saturn going retrograde on the 23rd and then Mercury on the 29th. There's a requirement with Temperance coming in here to allow yourself to make some adjustments, to seek to find balance through it, to seek to moderate situations. You can see these beautiful, peaceful energies of the white doves that she's holding here. But I feel like you're also holding space for someone else. So the truth that has landed for you and the certainty that has been brought up, it might take someone else or more than one person a little bit longer to get on board or to understand where you're coming from or what that means for them. Because if you're going to be making these bigger, bolder choices and decisions, you know, we have to harness and seize the energy of what the Wheel of Fortune is bringing in. It's changing and shifting the cycle. It's bringing in fated pathways for us. But I have a sense that there's going to be some uncomfortable feelings from those around you about what that means for them and what that means for perhaps things that have been in place for some time. I think that you can also expect that there is going to be change by way of the guidelines. And guidelines, how is that going to translate? It might mean in some of the boundaries or the discussions that you have with more personal relationships. But I also feel it's a case of what was once the structure of things is going to be changed and changed and changed again. And so I think there's a need for us to be flexible and adaptable. And again, Temperance is really going to help support that for you. Now, Temperance also links into the sign of Sagittarius. So I think we're talking about situations that are going to be coming up around that full moon, that lunar eclipse on the 26th of the month, and need to be flexible because the guidelines or the information that's given is likely to change. With that, again, a deeper need for soul searching and an understanding that any split that's caused doesn't necessarily need to be permanent, but there is a requirement, you know, even if it's splitting in your own energy, because it's going to help you to come into a sense of acceptance or figure out what still feels unresolved or has been pending. And, you know, the retrograde energies are going to have you revisit some things, you know. Empress energy, perhaps to do with mother or mother figure in your life, but also, you know, as she's ruled by Venus and it's also your natural ruler, this is a sign of Taurus, you know, when we link into the Empress energy. So there's also something about your value, your abundance, your state of gratitude, what is around you right now, how you perceive what you have in your life and the meaning that you are attaching to it. So I think there's some pretty profound shifts that are taking place in and around that aspect of things. It's a beautiful month when you are going to be allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to nourish and support and sustain your own well-being. And I think that's really important, Taurus, for you. It's a time when you are going to be very, very productive. And actually with that Jupiter moving into Pisces and all of the beautiful energies that are supporting you in Taurus, you're likely to see some nice gifts coming through that are going to feel very progressive for you, okay? I have a sense that there are some big personalities through the course of this month, all vying for attention, vying for your time, vying for having that kind of conversation or that dialogue or that narrative so that they can figure out where they stand in your life, or just wanting a piece of you. Or so I have this sense of you also, again, just needing to make sure with Temperance and that Ace of Swords that you're really listening to your own counsel, your own intuition, and making sure you're not splitting your energy too much, that you're also not allowing yourself to kind of sell yourself out or sell yourself short because you're trying to appease or, you know, just move in a way that it's kind of on somebody else's terms or someone else's timeline, you know. There is a tremendous sense of karma being cleared through the course of this month for you. And when we hit that full moon lunar eclipse, which is the third in the series of the Sagittarius, so think back to June 5th of last year and also to December 14th and see what was playing out for you around that time, because Ten of Swords is bringing a sense of closure and ending and finality to that, you know. Now we have you here looking downwards and kind of feeling the sharpness really of all of these needles kind of getting pointed towards you, and yet at the same time I think there's almost this deeper realization that you want to hear something, you want to feel something. I know that might sound strange, but it's almost like because that's what's going to set you free. So if there's been a situation that has been unresolved, or you have been perhaps in some denial over, and this could be, you know, playing out for somebody else that you are involved with. So, you know, you make sure that you interpret this as it relates to you individually, Taurus. But I think there's this need to almost hear what the energy of the Ten of Swords has to say. Now, of course, with that sometimes comes this victim energy, you know, this poor me, why me? So you might be getting the projection of that coming towards you, or, you know, you might even be feeling that yourself in terms of some of the things that are playing out, but it has something exceptionally valuable to teach you, because as I'm looking at, you know, the spiritual awareness that's coming in this reading, I know that what comes from that acknowledgement and that acceptance is quite life-altering, actually. It's a really powerful, potent time for you to allow these bigger changes. And like we said, everything comes in before we're ready for it. So you might have been thinking to yourself, yeah, I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that, or I know I have to deal with that. And all of a sudden it's like thrust into your pathway in May, and it's just like, okay, there's no avoiding it now. Now, the Knight of Wands here, there's a suggestion about you having to jump through hoops here. Someone's really making you jump through hoops to get to where you need to go. But the thing with the Knight is that there's messages, there's information, and there is a path to get to where you're supposed to be. Okay? You are on the move here. There is an impulsiveness, and there is a charge, and there's a determined kind of quality that comes in with this Knight right now that says, regardless of what the perceived dangers, regardless of how difficult this might seem on the surface, I'm going for it, I'm doing it. And here's where that beautiful kind of stubborn, gritty, determined, grounded focus comes in for you this month. Regardless of even what this Ten of Swords energy might deliver, it's almost from the truth of that, from allowing yourself to feel, to hear, to accept, then it sets you free, and then you can really make this enormous leap forward in your life. And I love that, again, the Knight of Wands sort of links into the Sagittarius energy that we have right beneath Temperance. So you might well have that sign as an important person or influence through the course of this month by some of the dynamics that are playing out here. But for me, it's really about that, you know, closure of that eclipse season, and then what it's going to open up for you. Remember the breaking down, breaking open, breaking up, and the soul-searching moment that comes that allows you to say, here's where I'm moving, here's the direction, here's the new horizon, here's the new vision quest that I have for myself. I'm just going to go ahead and pull us a flower medicine card and see how this wants to complement your reading for the month. There's a bit of an aspect of relocation going on here as well, I feel, for some of you with that Four of Wands, Knight of Wands. It's always a powerful indicator to me about shifts and changes that are happening at a much more rooted level in your life, you know. Perhaps even two options that you might be weighing up in relation to that. So your flower card is Daisy, Innocence. And perhaps with everything that's going on and some of the more heavier aspects of that, because remember that Sagittarius eclipse is in your 8th house, deep transformational stuff going on there. You know, pretty dramatic in terms of what it's inviting you to consider, to reflect upon into the shadow aspect of the self. But it's also really like the vehicle to be able to return to something more simple, more innocent, more straightforward, more in flow and harmony and unison with what it is that you want to create for your life. You know, having that beautiful Empress energy around you, surrounding yourself with the people and the things that are important to you, that you value, that you hold sacred, that you're grateful for. So the simplicity of the daisy and that sense of innocence has a lot to help us with as we might be going through some bigger, heavier shifts and transit changes over the next few weeks. So these cards are the Priestess Light Oracle, Twin Flames, Soul Partner, Eternal Connection. Okay, so I guess for some of you, that's going to be very relevant in terms of some of the changes that are on the horizon. So either you are already experiencing what is taking place for you in a current twin flame connection, or perhaps it is the indicator that this month is directly putting you on the pathway to connect with a twin flame. But even your understanding at a deeper soul level, for those of you that are not experiencing that in terms of a direct connection, it's something about you coming into harmony and unison with a deeper spiritual part of yourself as well. And the tiger here for me really representing a fearlessness and a readiness and a braveness to be able to face something, and to really accept and, allow yourself to move forward in your own growth and your own evolution, and knowing that there are people and situations that are going to have to be released, are going to have to be let go of, or there are things that you're going to have to come to terms with in order to embrace this, and allow the wisdom of what wants to come through in terms of that unity. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull an astrological card for us as well, see what wants to come through here. I think this month is going to be exceptionally powerful in helping you to leave any situations that feel really controlling, that feel difficult and restrictive. This is a real breaking free time for you, Taurus. Okay, so we've got the energy of Libra, consideration, fairness, and harmony. And coming in a little bit like the energy of Temperance here as well. I just think helping you to moderate, to kind of almost understand all sides of a situation, but to also allow a sense of kind of karmic justice to clear through and come into the pathway. You can see here that there is a bit of a mountain range, but the scales kind of sit up high. So the suggestion that perhaps you've already scaled this really difficult landscape and terrain, and what's come from that is a much deeper sense of equilibrium within the self. You've really learned something about who you are by what you've just been through. And from that does come a deeper sense of tolerance and fairness, and a consideration of something that perhaps you hadn't really understood or taken fully into account previously, but now moving forward is going to make a big difference in the way that you show up or how you choose to make choices and decisions. I think this bodes really well, particularly if you are trying to look at anything from a legal perspective through the course of this month. I guess I would just reiterate again with that Mercury going retrograde in Gemini, of which it is the ruler of. So, that tendency for information to get even more scrambled is kind of heightened when it's in the air sign of Gemini as well. So just be extra mindful that you're kind of really checking things over if there's anything legal that you are dealing with, particularly, when we're looking at things with the eclipse energies coming in by way of breaking down or separation, or having to look at kind of fixing or sorting things in that regard. So Taurus, this is a general reading for the month of May. I hope you're going to find it valuable as you continue to move through this month. If you'd like to join me for the extended version of this reading, you can find the link for that in the description box and the comment section underneath. And in the extended readings, we just go into this reading a little bit more deeply. We'll talk for another 20 minutes or so. I'm going to invite you just to consider a question that might not have come out in the general spread for us just now. And we'll see how that comes up when we talk a little bit more in the extended. Okay, so I'm just going to now clarify this main spread. So just beginning with that energy of the Wheel of Fortune, we've got the King of Wands coming through here. That fire energy showing up. Might be an Aries or a Leo or Sagittarius as well that, you know, is bringing in that discussion that perhaps you're wanting to avoid, but fate is kind of placing it at your door. We've also got the Hierophant coming through here, which of course does link into your sign. Ace of Pentacles or coins coming up here. I think it can be an exceptionally productive month for you by way of business and finance. You know, you really feel like you can get a lot done, even when there are things around you that are feeling very chaotic. It might be the way that you actually find some sense of solace, or you find some distraction or peace. You've got Hangman coming through there again, and the Ten of Wands. Just careful you don't pile too much on yourself, is what I want to say. And remember my message about guidelines changing. So we also have the energy of Justice coming in again for you here. And the Two of Wands. Queen of Swords, bringing in that air energy. So Libra, Aquarius, Gemini perhaps, but I also have a feeling it's to do with your focus. Look, there's another Ace of Swords coming in here. A little bit of a fractious energy around this. So, you know, perhaps uncomfortable truths coming up, but certainly they're very clarifying. Eight of Wands, lot of information. Some of it kind of wild in its arrival as well. We've got the King of Cups here coming through. So water energy, Pisces, Scorpio, Cancerian, and another Four of Wands coming in. Temperance, we've got Page of Wands, King of Swords. Like I said, a lot of big personalities coming through. Everyone has a lot to say this month. No shrinking violets, Six of Wands. Choices to make. You can see how your Knight of Wands, people moving in completely opposite directions here, and again with that Ten of Swords. So there is a suggestion, I think, for some of you that you will be moving away from someone or something. All right, Taurus, I'm going to leave it there. If you would like to continue, I look forward to the extended reading with you. Otherwise, I'm going to wish you a beautiful solar returns for this month. I hope that you find some of these messages will be valuable for you. Be sure to check back in as the month unfolds. Thanks for being here and tuning in. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you next month. Bye.